called We Rode Poems. I remember staying up all night writing poems. Simile eyes black as periods on end-stop lines. We saddled them with conceits over blankets of metaphor, spurred them on, reveling in each galloping anapest and cantering dactyl. Your poem carried you far, its tetrameter opening up a fervent gate. But my poem lost its footing on a broken enjambment, and I had to put it down. Thank you. I've been working for the last couple of years on my MFA thesis, also at Ashland University, and this is sort of a surreal poem that I wrote for the thesis. It's called Streetlight Sonata. It started with a backbeat that Danny laid down on a pair of garbage cans and a couple of street signs. Then Billy expanded on it with a bass line he thumped out on an old wooden telephone pole. And Johnny joined in, strumming out a rhythm on the telephone line stretched across the black velvet sky. Jerry did us proud with a screaming solo wrung out of the wrought iron fences lining the cul-de-sac. And I, for my part, sang some maximum rhythm and blues dredged up from somewhere deep inside a dark night of the soul, my voice joining with the band, a siren song, summoning the demons of rock and roll to seduce heaven's angels from their hymns. As was said in my introduction, I do technical theater and I build sets for plays. And there are days that sometimes I feel like I am being eaten by my work and by the tools. One day the table saw in the zine shop became my nemesis, and I wrote a little poem about the table saw. It's called The Table Saw. Zine shop work ain't hard to do. It don't take no advanced degree. Zine shop work ain't easy neither. It can break your back and freeze your mind. The table saw is hungry. Gotta feed it a steady diet of whitewood planks, more and more each day. I am the saw is me. I push another plank through. I am the plank is me. The blade devours us both, one pass at a time. I disappear a little more with every kerf. Just a little note, the word kerf is that amount that is taken out of a board when the blade goes through it. In April, I participated in a poem a day competition through Writer's Digest. And one of the prompts one of the days was to write a poem about a landmark. And I wrote a poem about a landmark that is very special to me from my alma mater of Kent State University. And thank you. And this is called May 4th Memorial, Kent State University. We mark the day with a square on the calendar grid, and every year the tale is told of how tensions rose between the student body and the body politic, how the governor ordered tanks and troops to take over the town, and the students responded with flags and flowers. Yet somehow the war of words became a battle of bullets. 67 rounds in just under 13 seconds were fired into the unshielded crowd by expert marksmen. And when the smoke and dust were cleared, 4 were dead in Kent, Ohio. Today, we mark the spots where they fell with squares of lighted steel bollards around parking spaces and with a memorial garden. We walk up the hill to the sculpture, place a finger in a bullet hole. After September 11th, I know a lot of poets and writers and songwriters sat down and wrote poems about their experience of that day, and I did the same. I remember when watching the towers falling, I let out a little exclamation of, "Oh my God, where is Superman when you need him?" And I expanded on that thought and my thesis advisor has allowed me to expand on that thought even further. And I wrote a poem called Death Came to Gotham. Oh, dark night, where are you when Gotham needs you most? Ra's al Ghul has flown a plane into the Twin Towers. Don't you see the bat signal? The commissioner is calling you. Oh, Man of Steel, why have you forsaken Metropolis? Lex Luthor has knocked the towers down. Lois Lane is broadcasting live from Ground Zero. Haven't you seen the news? Peter Parker, is your spidey sense not tingling? Kingpin has mobilized his forces and joined with Al Ghul and Luthor. The Rogues Gallery is on the march. Where are you? Matt Murdock, won't you wake up from sleeping in your soundproofed Hell's Kitchen bed? Won't you bring Daredevil's Billy Club to bear against the Kingpin's assassins? Bullseye and Bushwhacker are on the land. Come on, boys, round them up. Justice League of America. Don't you see we need heroes now before Penguin and Joker join the fray? Will you stay silent while death takes its toll? Oh, death, you are swift. You are relentless. And without superheroes, we are left to battle you alone. Death, you came to Gotham looking for some souls to steal, but only came away with dust in your hands. Death, we walk in your shadow, but we see the light. Death, go home. Do not come to Gotham anymore. Metropolis has no room for you. We live in an age of super connectedness these days, what with MySpace and Facebook and email and Classmates.com and all these different things. And every now and then, something from your past will jump up to kind of haunt you, a name or something like that, an unexpected email. And several years ago, I got one of those emails and had to write about the experience. This is called Thoughts After Reading an Email. 20 years, it seems, is still not enough to get you off my mind. Your message hit me like a blow to the gut. To see your name and read you wanted to speak to me left me gasping breathlessly. I thought I had closed the wound that was you. I thought I had stemmed the flow when I cauterized your memory. Yet one word, 20 years later, is all it took to rip open the gash that was you. I also write poems about nature and things like that. I have a photograph of a bear at the Cleveland Zoo, just kind of flopped on the rocks with his paw dragging in the water. And so I wrote a poem about that. It's called The Brown Bear at the Cleveland Zoo. The brown bear at the Cleveland Zoo paces in his created environment. He roams from cave to artificial lake shore to the top of a concrete rock outcropping. He shakes his head. His shaggy locks fall from his temples, a cascade of sadness. They flutter in the air like a coat collar he snaps after putting it on. He slides into the perfect blue of his artificial lake and swims, restlessly digging for his home. He climbs onto the shore and flops himself down, exhausted, expelling a sigh. His paw drags listlessly in the water. He sleeps off the fatigue brought on by his futile, aimless roaming of the unknown range encoded in his genes. My family and I have been doing a lot of camping, what with the economy the way it is, not a lot of ability to take big vacations. So for about the last 8 years, we've been doing a lot of camping. And we go to our favorite state park up in Lorain County. It's called Findlay State Park. And we have a short poem about Findlay State Park called Findlay State Park, 2008. Section 1. We pitch our tent between the gnarly tree roots veining the ground under patches of blue through a leafy canopy of tufted pine needles, like brown urchins in an azure sea of sky. Our bath towels hang like banners on a makeshift clothesline strung between the knotty barked trunks of tall pine trees. A band of locusts chitters love songs. Section 2. The smell of 100 campfires meets the sunset, shafts of sunlight sifting through the smoke. Night, as dark and shiny black as onyx, with so many stars the constellations are obscured, devours the sun. A choir of crickets chirps solemn hymns. On another camping trip, we're often visited by raccoons, but on one of our camping trips we were visited not only by raccoons, but a flying squirrel. And I was prompted to write, this is actually one of the few formal poems I've written. This is actually a sestina. So I wrote a sestina about that experience. It's called Firelight. Splintered logs, reduced to glowing embers, lay smoldering in dying flames' embrace, bathing bandit faces in shades of crimson. Tiny hands hold s'mores to sate their hunger. Little ones come forth to beg most timidly, only to be shooed away by Mama Raccoon and pursued. Above, a flying squirrel, amused by Mama's pursuit, chides her while swooping low to fan the embers, forcing little feet to scatter in their timidity to Mama and her comforting embrace, at once forgetting all thoughts of hunger in the naked light of coals glowing crimson. In the east, day breaks forth in streaks of crimson, revealing tiny prints, evidence of the night's pursuits, to weary eyes emerging from sleep to relieve their hunger. Delighted squeals greet missing s'mores and cold embers as children dance in sisterly embrace, boldly kicking up the dust of tiny prints made so timidly. Father peeks through canvas door, smiles, and retreats timidly to downy comfort in woolen bag of checkered crimson, and the loving warmth of mother's embrace, to steal a kiss, though nothing more may be pursued, as passion is blunted in memories of the embers, both yearning for appeasement, but knowing they still will hunger. Love is but a shadow of passion's hunger that dulls our feelings by making us timid, so that by the time we profess it, it's nothing but a dying ember, the withering petal of a rose of crimson, offered too late in our efforts to pursue that we miss the chance of a deep and passionate embrace. I am blessed to have known the passion of an embrace with one who will never leave me hungry, whose joy is mine and who chooses to pursue me equally and without timidity, flushing with desire in shades of crimson, fanning flames from every dying ember. Later, in starry night's embrace, as critters scurry timidly, I seek to feed that hunger with tender kisses on lips of crimson, as little heads droop to pursue slumber, softly lit by fire's dying embers. Every now and then I'll write a poem about one of my family members. This one came out of a memory of my youngest daughter, standing and blowing those little helicopter seeds back into the air. This is called Portrait of Haley, aged 5. I am a silver maple seed helicoptering into the tiny hands of a kindergartner wearing a green seersucker sundress and white sandals, who cuts me in her chubby curved fingers before sending me back to the clouds with a gentle puff of licorice-scented breath. In the MFA program at Ashland, we do a lot of exercises, and this next poem came out of one of those exercises, and it's called Celtic Piping. Sometimes, if I am very lucky, I can tune in Celtic piping from the BBC on my radio. It comes in very early in the morning while I'm shaving, as I draw a bead of white lather across my palm, swirling it up like cauliflower. I see my father's face, poker serious in the mirror as I drag a dry razor down each lathered cheek. He seems to sing of beachcombing for crayfish as wave upon wave of bemoanable keening envelops me like a shawl. His superimposed reflection fades. White noise impinges as wavelengths cross, and Danny Boy gives way to an annoying boom, thump a boom, thump. Said we live in an age of complete connectedness with Facebook and MySpace and so forth. This is another one of the poems that got me invited to read here. Started out as a status post by one of my friends. His name's JT, and JT is up in Akron right now working on a production of Godspell. But I asked him, I said, JT, can I use your status post in a poem? He said, feel free, go right ahead. He said he was honored to have his status immortalized and memorialized in a poem. So this is called Weekend, and it's for my friend JT. I am listening for Saturday with Sunday night ears, looking forward to Monday with Friday night eyes. I touch Saturday night, poker chips and bicycle cards, with the light reverence of fingers turning Bible pages. I kiss Sunday morning with the taste of Saturday night, stale pretzels and rank cigars still lingering in my mouth. I sing Sunday morning hymns, bringing in the sheaves, with Friday night fervor, marching bands and football lights. I see Monday morning sunrise through beer and bourbon-tinted memories of Friday night rounds of victory celebration. I'm going to close with a poem that I wrote about an experience walking on a trail in the metro parks in Elyria. I was walking early one morning and I came across a family of deer, and they observed me, and then they let me pass, and then they passed me. And so I wrote a poem. I actually wrote it in the style of James Wright. This is called Benediction. 1. Meet me at the forest's edge where the white-tailed deer, easily spooked, come down to feed on tender shoots. 2. Along the trail, morning mist. A young buck, his 2 does, pause, eyes moist, black, an invitation. 3. Sun shattering through cedars, liquid light drowning trees and trail, and a saffron shower of crystalline shards. 4. I pass the family. They cross behind me, circle around, disappear into the wood to find their beds of rhododendron. 3 tails, slick white. Thank you.